Many fighting types have come from martial arts mythology: gangsters, berserkers, hyenas, to name a couple. But very few have a special gift. You know, the one that inspires and makes our hair stand on the end. That very reason why we watch match after match. The hope we all harbor to witness that rare moment when a fighter goes to another level. When they rise above the mortal thresholds of fatigue and anxiety and touch God mode. This is MMA time. And here's our top 5 God mode moments. Number 5. Jones vs Shogun is probably the best fight in Jon Jones' career. He went into full-on God mode multiple times and did some incredible things before this match, but this was actually the first time he had a chance to become a champion, and he wasn't going to miss this opportunity.
And stuff like that, he's just so creative in there.
Jones came out swinging and taking down his opponent right from the get-go. He wiped the floor with Shogun, punching him high and low and leaving no chance to response or redemption. This evening, Jones showed everyone what real MMA is all about: creative striking, instinctual and purely artistic in its core.
Brutal elbow. Big elbows. Trying to finish this fight. Shogun's badly hurt, Mike. Jon Jones.
Amazing grappling that left his titular opponent in the dust. Every movement, every step was perfectly choreographed and resilient, every strike razor sharp. And thank God he stopped humiliating poor Shogun and ended the fight in round 3.
Jon Jones is the youngest champion in UFC history!
That evening, at 23 years old, Jones became the youngest champion in the history of the UFC. But it wasn't just about his age, it was about the way he did it that made him far more menacing for his future rivals. And for a good reason. 10 years have passed, and he's still on the top.
I am a god. I am a god. I am a god.
Number 4. Not so long ago, Max Holloway, aka Blessed, absolutely owned everyone in featherweight. His streak went from 2014 to 2018, with 13 matches and no losses. This record made him one of the best fighters of his league, but the crowning jewel of his career was the match against Brian Ortega. T-City was an undefeated, heavy-handed jiu-jitsu master, sporting a 14-0 record, including wins against legendary champions like Frankie Edgar. It was no surprise that Brian was the public favorite in this match, especially considering Max already had some serious health issues. To some, the defending champion seemed past his prime, and an easy opportunity for Ortega to take the belt.
I'm good, man, I'm good. Just look like, you're ready to fall asleep on me there. But I'll be fine, man.
Doctors even insisted on postponing the fight after Max went through an unscheduled medical checkup. But when the fight finally happened, the audience realized what Blessed was all about. It was that moment when Max turned his God mode on. It quickly became obvious that the champion moved much quicker, his combos were precise and accurate, and his opponent couldn't deal with it. Before, Ortega had threatened to take down Max, but round 1 had Ortega struggling to stay on his own feet, an opportunity which Holloway capitalized on. The momentum increased as the fight went on, Max's combos growing more convoluted and landing almost every time he threw them. Max actually set the record on the amount of punches he landed on his rival's bloody face. This one-sided fight forced the doctors to stop the match in round 4, and thus Max Holloway blessed us with this unforgettable instance of God mode.
I am a god.
Number 3. Our next pick is the fight and the tournament embedded deep in the halls of martial arts lore: Conor McGregor vs. Eddie Alvarez. This match occurred in the legendary UFC 205 card. This is important because it was the first time New York actually green-lighted an MMA tournament, a big step that paved the way for huge promotions like Bellator. Everything became possible after the events of that night. Conor McGregor entered the stage accompanied by the sounds of his Foggy Dew. This was the old Conor, fresh and smooth. Not necessarily the case anymore. Nowadays, Conor looks completely different, often washed up and past his prime, due to some of his more recent life decisions. But that evening, when the hype was up and the pressure was on, he delivered.
Here we go! White trunks for McGregor, black trunks for Alvarez.
Good inside leg kick by Alvarez, left hand.
First stock at 155, he got 2012. He's home. Can he finish it right here?
Conor started the bout in dominant fashion, though the fight, if that's what you want to call it, was far from over. Conor was ruthless and methodical. He kept punching Alvarez, giving him no chance to answer. He perfectly countered any assault and was fast and precise like never before. A bunch of knockdowns, no damage taken. Conor proved once again that his champion status was no accident, and he claimed title once again. This fight made a legend out of Conor McGregor. He became the first simultaneous champion of two weight divisions. He brought the UFC to New York and did it by giving the Big Apple the biggest performance of his career. No surprise it went downhill after that. There's basically nothing left to achieve for him, and this incredible match earns him the third spot on our list.
I am a god.
Number 2. Everyone knows the touching story about Cody and Maddox Maple. Both made promises to each other. Kid's oath was to beat the cancer, and Cody's to win the UFC championship. Maddox kept his promise, so Garbrandt had to deliver. His rival was Dominick Cruz, coming off an impressive comeback in a series of title fights. Before the main event, Cruz, in his typical fashion, went after Cody and his family, employing mental warfare against the challenger. The intent being to piss him off to the point of losing control, thereby letting Cody's emotions to get the best of him, and using that to dominate the fight from the get-go. But, to everyone's surprise, that's not what happened. Cody entered the stage focused and determined. He has never looked better before or after this fight. He stood front and center and started baiting Dominic. The truth is that Cruz's style is largely based on being unpredictable, getting a read on his opponent and counter-punching, usually with very effective results. But here, that strategy fell flat from the start. Over and over he tried to land on Cody, only to find himself at the mercy of Garbrandt's swift counterpunches, to the astonishment of everyone. As the fight went on, Cody began to downright mocking Cruz, and against all odds, Dominic started to lose it. Cody punched more effectively, easily avoided takedown attempts, and beat the shit out of the legendary champion during the whole match, keeping momentum on his side. Cody Garbrandt made his promise and became a champion by taking down the best fighter in the history of the division. And he did it in a godlike fashion.
I am a god.
Number 1. There are plenty of legendary pioneer fighters out there, whose legacy became lost in time due to expansion of martial arts, so it's hard for young MMA fans to fully appreciate their contribution nowadays. And yet, there's one exception, in the legend of Anderson da Silva.
This left hand! Look at this left hand! Bam! The legs go!
any random showcase of his knockouts or defensive strategy may persuade even people unfamiliar with martial arts why Silva is considered to be the best of the best. Unlike some of our picks, Anderson went full God mode on various occasions, but it was the fight against Forrest Griffin that made him shine his brightest. UFC 101. Blockbuster by the name of UFC 100 had to be outdone, which was not an easy task to accomplish for fighters on the card. Promotion did its best to make this evening important and exciting. The main event involved BJ Penn once again bleeding out his opponents, but it was Anderson's performance that made this series really special. He had been competing at light heavyweight for a good minute, but this time around he was about to crack a former champion, Forrest Griffin. First things first, Spider kept it cool for a while, moving around, studying the opponent who tried to capitalize but only ended up punching the air. Then Anderson made his move, knocking Forrest down. What followed next is this.
Look at this left hand! Look at this left hand! Bam! The legs go!
His jab made Griffin bite the dust, and after this Forrest showed he'd had enough and ran away. This match proved that out of all fighters in the history of the UFC, Anderson Silva is the only one who does not care about league or day. He fights everyone, and he always delivers. That's why he's our number one.
And literally every day, people ask me something about that.
I wasn't going to bring that up at all.
What happened? What happened?
He punched you in the chin.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
And I was very confused. And I tried to punch him. And he literally moved his head out of the way and looked at me like I was stupid for doing it. He looked at me like, why would you do such a stupid thing? He looked at me like, oh, did you really think you were going to hit me? What a stupid thing to think, you slow white boy. And then he punched me. And I felt embarrassed for even trying to punch him.
Oh my God.
I am a god.
If you liked our video, click like button, smash subscribe and hit that notification bells.